Good morning. Today we have quite a bit of work that's coming to the shop. We've got this Chevy Silverado right here that's in for a water pump, but behind me is an Aston Martin V8 Vantage. And initial inspection of it, oh, we've definitely got some front end damage here. Wheel well liner's been ripped out of it. Looks like it's been sitting in a barn for a few years. This front trim piece was held on by duct tape, but that's come loose. Let's see. Wheel well liner's intact on this side. Brakes, little bit of rust corrosion on there, but it's definitely been sitting. How about this interior? Okay, interior looks a little bit better. Little bit of leather coming up on that passenger side of the dashboard, but nothing too major. But man, this has been sitting for a while. I mean, even this key looks like it's seen better days. Got a big old chip out of the crystal right there. I'm guessing it still works. Good morning. How are you feeling? Phoebe just got spayed, so she's got the cone of shame on. Let's get this Aston Martin inside. It's a little chilly out here this morning. Let's take a look, see what all's going on with this. Taking a look on the dash, we've got a check engine light, check tires, emission system service required. 64,000 miles on it, so pretty low mileage on this car. Looks like the front Aston Martin badge missing its backing plate. Now I thought that I could go through and blow some of this off with compressed air, but this is caked on there. This isn't something that'll just blow off. This is gonna need a full detail. You can see it looks like somebody maybe tried to start cleaning it, realized how much it was gonna be, but this is definitely gonna need some body work by the time we're done, so I'm expecting the owner to give it a full detail. So let's go ahead and get this car up in the air. We're gonna get the underbody panels off so we can do a visual inspection of everything underneath, see what happened here, and we'll also scan the fault codes to figure out what kind of codes it's throwing. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and get this wheel removed.
Hey, I think you're doing that wrong.
Oh, hey, Daniel-san.
How's it going?
Doing all right. Daniel, I'm working on this 2009 Aston Martin, and I've got a few shifting issues, but I believe this is a Magneti Marelli.
Well, I know a little bit about Magneti Marelli, so it's Italian.
Well, I'm glad I've got you here because we're definitely going to need some help taking a look at this transmission. We need to assess what kind of condition it's in. Daniel, this Aston was towed into me because it had a little bit of front end damage. I'm not sure if it fell off of a tow truck or if it just got away from the tow truck driver, but we've definitely got a little bit of damage underneath. I'll show you what I've got here. So you can see here, we've definitely got some damage to this air box and the bracket that holds it.
Yeah, it definitely cracked the, it bent and cracked the bracket right here.
Yep, so we've definitely got to order a new air box for it, but I didn't see any damage to the subframe or to the oil cooler that sits up front, so I think he got pretty lucky in terms of what could have been damaged on here.
Yeah, I wonder if it got pulled or pushed.
And looking at the fender liner, you can see that it was ripped away from the front right here, and a lot of these pieces were also ripped. They've just got big holes now.
Yeah.
So it definitely caught it, but it doesn't seem to have done too much to the front bumper. A couple of cracks here and there, but the bumper is still secured to the car. So it looks like the owner might have gotten pretty lucky in terms of what all could have been damaged in this accident.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of just paint work and just that airbox.
Mm-hmm.
But at least it's, well, actually it goes up here a little bit.
Yeah, up onto this fender, there's a couple of dings on it. Yeah, there's no damage to the subframe, no damage to the frame to speak of, but there is one concern that he has, which is the transmission. We've got a couple of fault codes that we'll take a look at here in a minute, and we're also going to assess the condition of it because he's worried that it was physically damaged in the accident as well. So we'll get under it and take a look.
Okay.
Inside of our Marelli transmission control module, we're taking a look at a list of fault codes here. We've got a P1707, failure of the next gear meshing, move failure mechanical fault, P1701, gear engagement, P0905, gear signal value incorrect, P1734, current gear disengage failure, P1750, gear selection and clutch uncalibrated. Looks like most of our damage happened kind of over here to the side. But taking a look farther back, we look at our radiator support and condenser support, and I don't see any damages. I don't see any nicks or dings to it. It doesn't look deformed. Same thing with our oil cooler. Don't see any scratches on there. That all looks to be in pretty good condition. Drain plug for our oil reservoir. Doesn't even look like it has a scratch on it, so that's good. We come back here to our sway bar though, and we do start to see a few scratches here. It looks like we lost a little bit of paint on this side, but it doesn't look to be bent or damaged, just scraped. And our sway bar links probably need to be replaced. Whether that happened during the accident or not, hard to tell, but we'll go ahead and get some sway bar links on here. Move a little further back.
There's that there.
So there's a piece of trash here. I wonder what that's from. That almost looks like a...
Is that a plate? It is a plate.
Is it?
I think so.
It almost looks like a headlight cover, like one of the plastic headlight covers.
Really?
That's what it looks like to me. It's got the labels on it. Whatever it is, it's trash now. Oil filter, don't see any scrapes or scratches on there. Serpentine belt looks to be in good condition. No major scratches on our oil pan either. Not seeing any damage to the bottom of the compressor.
Can't see the date code on the belt.
Yeah, it's worn off there, but we're not seeing any cracks on it.
No, it looks good.
Yeah. Not seeing any major signs of scratches down here, so that's definitely a good sign.
Yeah, even here on the oil pan.
Yeah, everything's nice and dry.
No scratches whatsoever. Usually these cars will always at least have a few scratches here and there, but this is flawless.
Yeah, and even the underbody panel wasn't covered in anything, and this one was missing this secondary underbody panel. But it looks to be all right. I think he may have avoided any serious damage here, any serious physical damage, so I'm sure he'll be happy about that. But that's a good sign. We'll move a little further back towards our torque tube. We do have a little bit of an oil drip right here. This looks like maybe the lower oil pan is seeping just a little bit because I don't see it coming up any higher than that. And it's just in that one corner.
How many drain plugs do we have here?
We've got one drain plug.
Two
drain plugs.
Now what the heck is this? Drain plug, I guess?
Looks like a third drain plug. And then we've got our actual oil reservoir up front, so a fourth drain plug. If you want to count the one on the oil cooler, maybe a fifth oil drain plug.
Ooh, look at this.
Yep, our clutch bleeder screw. So it sounds like the owner wants to go ahead and put a new clutch in this. We're at 65,000 miles.
And then you got your sensors here.
Yep, crank position, sir, right here looks to be intact. Don't see any damage to the wiring. O2 sensor connectors, and the cover plates are nice and clean, not even a scratch on those. Exhaust, same story, no major scratches on our exhaust, so pretty good turnout. I mean, for something that came away from a tow truck driver or fell off of a tow truck, whatever it was. All right, so taking a look underneath, I didn't see any physical damage to the transmission. Also, this bracket that sits right here, I don't see any damage to that either. I mean, there's a couple of scrapes, but nothing major.
That looks about normal for these lowered cars.
Yeah, I didn't see any unnecessary wear, and this part of the transmission right here is what's normally exposed, and I didn't see any damage to the pump or to the filter or to any of the hydraulic lines back here. I don't even see a leak back here.
Yeah, it's not even leaking. That's a big surprise. Usually these all leak.
Yeah, and that's what I was expecting when I got under here. But there is one thing that we need to do. We need to definitely take a look at the condition of the fluid that's inside of this.
Oh, we got it right here.
We've got our drain plug right there. We'll go ahead and get that loosened up, and we'll take a look at what we got in terms of fluid condition.
Come on, man, give it the beans.
Oh, there we go. All right. Let's take a look at this fluid.
Well, I think it's clear, man. Ooh.
Yeah, the condition of this fluid looks way better than what I was expecting it to be. Taking a look at the condition of this fluid that came out of the transmission, it looks to be in pretty good condition. It's not black, it doesn't smell extremely burnt, there's no big metal fragments in any of it, I don't see any metal flaking in any of it. So we're actually looking in pretty good shape on this transmission. I'm not too worried about the condition of it.
Something to look on these, since these transmissions are kind of, they have a hard shifting. You can see a lot of gold flakes coming from the synchros, and in this case we don't really see that. I've seen it before. I've replaced transmissions that have had this problem before. It's just straight, just basically straight gold flakes in the gear oil.
We've got hope for this transmission yet. We've got a few fault codes that we've got to sort out, but that could be from this sitting for so long.
So the transmission that I actually worked on that had the gold flakes was a Ferrari 360 transmission, which I actually need a manual for.
Speaking of manuals, I want to take another minute to say thank you to today's sponsor, eManuals. Now, for those of you who may not know off the top of your head all of the information on these cars, I certainly don't know everything for this Aston Martin. I need to know how much fluid and what type of fluid to put in this transmission, and I was able to get a manual from eManual for this 2009 Aston Martin. They have a manual for the Ferrari that you're talking about, so if we need to get some workshop repair manuals, we can get what the professionals use, which is a big help for a lot of people. Now, you may not be working on a Ferrari, you may not be working on an Aston Martin, you may have a chainsaw that a neighbor gave you for free or a weed eater that they gave you. You can find manuals like this and so much more at emanual.com. So you can see here for the transaxle oil, we'll be using a 75W90. We'll take a look at the sport shift fluid to see what the specifications are for that. Make sure that we're using the correct fluid in here. So the next thing that I want to take a look at is I want to take a look at the level of the F1 fluid. Now this is a separate hydraulic system, and I want to take a look at the level of this fluid because this can cause some issues if the level is too low. So let's take a look at that next. All right, so looking up here from the driver's side rear wheel next to this half shaft, we can see that we have a reservoir, and this is for the F1 hydraulic fluid. So let me get the cap off the top. Now there's not much room to work up in here. We're going to take a piece of hose and we're going to take a look at the level of the fluid. All right, so we've definitely got fluid in the reservoir. Measuring it with our hose, we know that our fluid level is up about the level of the hose clamp right now. So we've definitely got fluid in the reservoir, and the fluid looks to be in good condition. So that's a good sign. So we've got our transaxle oil. That's going to be the gear oil, the 75W90. But our sport shift fluid is actually going to convert to a fluid CHF11S. So this is what we'll use if we decide to go ahead and replace the sport shift fluid. So Daniel, thanks for stopping by. I'm glad you had a little bit of time to come out here, take a look at the shop, see what I'm currently working on this Aston. We'll get a little bit of work done on it. I've got to go get some oil for it, so that's going to take a little bit of time. I know you've got to get going. You've got a pretty busy schedule as well.
Also, I'm an hour away.
It is a little bit of a drive to get out here, so thank you for making the drive. It does make me feel special. Now, because this car has sat for so long and there's so many fault codes in the transmission, we've seen that the fluid is in good condition inside of the transmission. So what I'll do next, I'm going to turn off the traction control and I'm going to take it through all of its gears just to see how the transmission is shifting, make sure that we can actually get through each one of them. Now, it is quite cold this morning, so I will need a little bit of time. We're going to get this warmed up and we'll see how it performs as we shift through the gears. All right, so we're up to operating temperature. We're going to go ahead and turn off traction control. All right, we've got our traction control turned off. Keeping in mind this will set some fault codes. We'll get a few lights on the dash because it sees the rear wheel spinning and not the front, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and start shifting through the gears. Back down. And we'll put it back in neutral. All right, so we were able to shift through all 6 gears and it was pretty smooth actuation up and down. I didn't feel too much jerking or anything like that, but we'll go through, we'll check and see what fault codes came back. Now, after going through and shifting through all of our gears, we only have 2 fault codes that come back. We have a P1734 and a P1750. Current gear disengage failure, mechanical cause, and gear selection and clutch uncalibrated non-self-learning grid. After shifting through the gears and everything looks okay, the next thing the owner would like to do is to go ahead, remove the transmission and the torque tube, and take a look at the condition of the clutch. Now, when we've got the transmission removed, we have been in contact with a couple of shops that specialize in rebuilding these sport shift transmissions, and we'll send it out if we need to. But in the meantime, we'll take a look at the clutch, determine the condition of it. We'll even look at replacing it, along with a few other parts. But I'll take you along in the next few videos and the repairs that I do, getting everything ready to go on this Aston Martin, getting it back out on the road. Now, originally this car was quoted at having $56,000 in repairs needed, and I don't think that's the case at all. Normally when shops give you a quote that's worth more than the value of the vehicle, it's because they don't want to touch it. And a lot of times they won't tell you that, so they'll just give you an astronomical quote, thinking that, okay, that's fine, that they don't have to worry about it. I definitely think this car is worth saving. One of the other options he was looking at was doing a manual swap, but what I recommend is fixing this car, getting it right, selling it, and then purchasing a manual V8 if that's really what he's into. So in the meantime, we've got plenty of work to do on this car. There's plenty more videos coming up. I've made a lot of progress on these bikes. There's another car back behind me that you may see a little bit of. And we're getting colder here in the shop, so I've got some heaters to install, but plenty of work to be done here. Make sure to take a look down in the description for a link to the e-manual website and a discount code to save you a few bucks. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.